Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And in today's video, we'll give you a recruiting update on Joe Toussaint, the West Virginia recruit that Texas Tech has high interest in, as well as another Big 12 school and now an SEC school. We'll also give some of my standouts from TABC this past weekend here in Dallas. 3 players that Texas Tech is recruiting that just really stood out to me at this event. And then we'll also discuss roster patience. I know it's something that I don't really have much of myself, and I'm sure some of y'all don't have either, but we'll discuss that a little bit. But before we do, be sure to like the video if you are enjoying the Texas Tech men's basketball content throughout the offseason. Grant McCaslin, Matt Brower, Chokey, all those guys are keeping it interesting when it comes to the roster and who they're recruiting and everything like that. It was cool to meet Matt this weekend for the first time actually in person. So be sure to like the video if you want to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel. All right, let's jump into this and recap just a little bit from yesterday's video for those that didn't get to see it. Per John Rothstein, West Virginia guard Joe Toussaint will visit Kansas State starting Monday to Wednesday, and then take a flight from Manhattan down to the 806 and visit the Red Raiders from Wednesday to Friday. Now, that's significant. Joe Toussaint is hitting the portal due to everything going on at West Virginia, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be the last one to do it. I know the Arizona guard that transferred in there this offseason said he will be returning, but it sounds like a couple more guys for the Mountaineers could be entering the portal. Now, Joe Toussaint, I like his game. If you want to go back and listen to my thoughts in terms of the scouting report, it's the second to last video here on the channel. But it's interesting now because of this. Again, he's got a couple official visits set up, but there is a new team in the mix because, well, they just lost a former 5-star guard to the transfer portal, and that is the Alabama Crimson Tide. With Javon Quinterly entering the portal now, they have a need for a guard. And Nate Oates, in true Nate Oates fashion, and no hate at all when it comes down to it, has entered himself into the conversation for Joe Toussaint. He's receiving interest according from John Rothstein, I should say. Joe Toussaint is from the Alabama Crimson Tide. And now it makes a lot of sense, especially when you lose a guy like that, for Alabama to get into the mix. I know Texas Tech is eager to potentially go and get him, right, in terms of what he brings to the table. And if you see the bottom line below, these are kind of the situations going on right now with Joe Toussaint, what he averaged last year and what I think he could potentially bring to Texas Tech, right? But overall, again, this is going to be a dogfight when it comes down to it, especially with the Big 12 foe in Jerome Tang and the K-State Wildcats. But now you got to worry about Nate Oates, who needs a guard himself. And I think Joe Toussaint, I know some guys and girls in the comment section of the video are asking, why is Texas Tech going after another guard? I think if Texas Tech is serious about running and getting up and down the floor, which I think that's what they're going to do as this moment right now, Joe Toussaint is a good guy to have, especially with his really the experience that he brings and the versatility he brings defensively too, with his long arms, maybe a little bit shorter, but he can guard 1 through 2, wreak havoc a little bit, and create chaos as well on the offensive end. But I want to talk about this too as well before we get into really who stood out to me at TABC. I want to talk about the roster a little bit more and go in depth with the roster patience that I was just talking about. Okay, again, the roster as it stands of today at the time of this recording, Monday, June 26th. Okay, for reference, I'm recording this at 9:30 in the morning. You got Isaacs, you got Lindsey, you got Jennings, Walton, both the Williams, both of the Washingtons, McMillan, Yalahu, Steffi, and now Devin Cambridge. Okay, you got 1 scholarship remaining. I appreciate Texas Tech being patient right now when it comes down to it. And the reason being is this: you got 1 scholarship left. I know that some people will say, hey, you need a big, you need another wing, guard, whatever it may be, right? And I'll ask you guys your opinion about that here in just a second. But I appreciate the patience because I promise you this: you will see here in the next couple of weeks, probably not even the next couple of weeks, probably the next 10 days, right, leading up to July 4th and July 6th, you're going to see quite a few grad transfers into the transfer portal, right? And now, will every team have a scholarship open? No, some of these teams already have their rosters set for next season, right? But Texas Tech has that luxury of having one scholarship available to go out and potentially land an impact guy. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be a high impact starter, but a guy that could play rotation minutes next year and be a key contributor for the Red Raiders. They have that luxury. Now, again, it doesn't mean you're going to get them. We know how recruiting works, but they have the opportunity to because they have a scholarship available and they can go out and identify who they want potentially to come in here and impact the front court, the back court, maybe the wing, and have a hybrid type situation going on, whoever they see fit. Perfect example is Devin Cambridge, right? Opportunity struck, they took it. And they had the scholarships to do it, to add an impact guy who I think potentially could be starting for the Red Raiders next year, right? So that's really what it comes down to. But I want to ask you guys this again. Who or what position, I guess I should say, do you want Texas Tech to land with that last remaining scholarship? Again, I think Joe Toussaint would be a phenomenal add for the Red Raiders. I know some people don't agree. Do you want a big man? Do you want another wing? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. I just kind of want to hear y'all's opinion. So again, what position do you want Texas Tech to address most with the last remaining scholarship to finalize their roster going into next season? All right. Let's jump into who stood out to me at TABC here in Dallas. Again, a great event. Got to meet Matt Brower, an assistant coach for Texas Tech. Great dude. But these are the three guys that Texas Tech has offered and that I think stood out this past weekend at this event at a high level. We'll start with Parker Jefferson, a four-star center from Waxahachie, 6'9", 200. First words out of my mouth when I watched him play while I was watching with a couple of coaches and a good friend of mine, Tobias Bass, he's a pro. I mean, just like from the jump, you could tell right away, this kid's a pro. He almost gives me Drew Timme vibes in a way. He can beat you off the block. He can beat you off the perimeter. I think he's probably a little bit more athletic than Drew Timme, but maybe not skilled as of this moment with his feet. Obviously, we're talking about Drew Timme at a high level, and we know what he was at Gonzaga, but he gives me those kind of vibes. He really can do it all on the offensive end. He's solid defensively, probably could get a little bit better there. But overall, when I look at it, he's an absolute menace on the offensive end. He holds offers from schools like Texas Tech, Texas A&M, OK State, Iowa, TCU, and a few others as well. He's a guy that I'm very interested to see how this develops with Texas Tech in terms of the recruiting trail because it is early on for him as a 2025. The next guy that stood out for me, and this was arguably my favorite player the entire weekend to watch, was Kingston Flemings. He's not rated currently right now. A 2025 guard out of Brennan High School down in the San Antonio area. 6'2", 175. He just controls the game. Like on both sides of the floor, he controls it, but specifically on the offensive end, he is never not in control. Whatever pace he wants to play at, Kingston does, that's the way the game is going to be played. It's that simple. He can beat you at all three levels offensively, a really good passer, knows how to create angles and create separation to get his guys open across the floor, knows a great skip passer. And he was just really one of my favorite players to watch this weekend. And Texas Tech is in on him, one of the offers that he has. And it's crazy because you look at his offer list and then you look at his ranking and you're like, something's not right here. He's going to be offered or ranked, I should say, very, very quickly. But his offer list includes obviously the Red Raiders, Alabama, Baylor, Houston, Texas, and several other high major programs as well. So don't be surprised if you see him jump up to a 4-star ranking here in the not too distant future. The last guy I wanted to talk about was arguably a top 3 player at this weekend's TABC event. And that is Josiah Mosley. The performance he had against Duncanville, and for those that don't know how good of a program Duncanville High School is when it comes down to men's basketball, they are one of the elites of the elite, not only in the state, but across the country, right? And he dominated, okay? He is a 3-star forward, 2024 from Stony Point High School in Round Rock, 6'6", 285, plays a little bit bigger than that, plays closer to 6'8", 6'9", in my opinion. He's a true do-it-all player. He was doing everything. He's bringing up the ball for his high school. He was the post player defensively, anchoring the defense, right? He had 32 and 12 versus Duncanville. At one point, they were up 25 over Duncanville. It was wild to watch. how effortless he was making it look at times almost against the perennial power in Duncanville. He was easily a top 5 player at TABC that I watched this weekend. And schools that have offered him, he didn't have a lot of offers going into this weekend, but he picked some up this weekend, including Texas Tech. That was one. Texas. Va Tech offered him this weekend as well as now he's got several other offers as well. He is a true standout, in my opinion, and a guy that I am very interested to see how Texas Tech pursues in the class of 2024. All right, those are the standouts for me this weekend in terms of who the Red Raiders have offered and we're watching this weekend at TABC. Let me know your thoughts on those guys down below. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video if you want more Texas Tech men's basketball videos. And if you want to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, hit that subscribe button. The Back to 12 podcast is your one-stop shop for everything Texas Tech men's basketball all year long. We'll catch you next time. Hope you'll have a great day.